Hey guys, Joe here. So it is Monday the 9th of December, and so right now I'm actually headed to the doctor's office. So now I'm going to a cardiologist to see if there's anything going on, because my wife did some research and maybe all the health issues, or some of them, are from that. And the reason for that, and she thinks it is because my heart rate's always been really, really low, which during, when I was younger, when I was actually, it would be fine. But now it's like I'm not active, and like my resting heart rate is somewhere typically in the 50s. So maybe it might be an issue where I just don't have enough blood flowing or something. Because like legit always cold, my hands are freezing, like it's horrible. So plus there's other shit going on, so that's where we're kind of at. So anyway, few good things. So I've been working on the fence calculator, and I guess talking about the fence calculator. So number one is, if you're using AI tools, you'll probably end up using ChatGPT. That's what I personally started with, because it was the most well known and things like that. What I will say, so I still have ChatGPT. I have the pro version of that, and it works really well. I was having issues with the fence calculator. I wasn't doing the things I wanted to, and then there was all these kinds of things, and I just wanted to start screaming, to be honest with you. And so anyway, I end up finding Claude. So Claude is just another AI model, but what I found, a lot of programmers are saying to use that. It just has more accurate information and things like that. I haven't used it for a lot of other things, but I just gave it access to my assistant Kaya, and I think Mike's going to end up using it as well. But it's from what I've seen, head and shoulders above ChatGPT as far as with the what I'm doing with the calculator is just going to be a lot more advanced than the typical different prompts that you're using it for, maybe copywriting or whatever. But it's been great, really great. It doesn't keep on changing answers. For the most part, it's pretty good. It's pretty insane what we have going on with this thing right now. So I'm pretty excited. The only thing I absolutely hate is there's certain usage limits. So once you hit that, even with the paid plan, you end up having to use a lower model, which would be fine in most circumstances. But for what I'm doing, I can't, because there's not enough reasoning, and the logic models just aren't high enough for what I'm doing with the lower end models, so I have to use the higher end ones. So that was the annoying part. Anyway, so I had a meeting with Kaya today, and I was looking at her actually over the weekend, and so I clicked on one of the videos, and I was in the YouTube channel, and just on Saturday alone we had 6 additional subscribers, which is pretty insane. So thank you for that, guys. The whole thing for this is, and I told them the same thing, it's the point of this channel is not to get as many subscribers as I possibly can. My goal is to make the biggest impact that I can. That being said, one of the numbers that kind of associates with this stuff would be the number of subscribers, because obviously the more subscribers I have, that means that the different videos have been seen more, and all this other kind of stuff, and people actually think it's helpful, so therefore they end up watching this stuff or subscribing. And so normally it's on the average, I think we were getting about 7 subscribers a month, and that was mostly from a few pieces of content that do really, really well, which are defense calculator videos, which you'll start seeing more and more updates for that kind of stuff. But it's been yes, like I said, on Saturday we had 6, so we almost got as many subscribers in one day than we normally do in a month. So that's pretty exciting. And basically what I told them, because I was looking at different content on the channel, the one of which was this long form piece of content, and it's you'll start seeing more and more that there's just a consistent stream of content being produced at this point. And my worry, it's not even worry, but the one thing I want to make sure is not happening is, do we keep on just pushing as much stuff as we possibly can out without even really looking at anything? So what we're trying to do now is basically go back, look at the content that's been posted, what's not doing well, looking at different videos, and then from there tweaking them, so that way, and then reposting them to see what that looks like now. So as far as like the click-through rate, it could be for the view duration, the drop-off, the view percentage, like whatever it may be. So we're messing with stuff like that. How that applies to you, I don't really know, to be honest with you. Just off the top of my head is like looking at the operations that you do within the business, and instead of, for me, when I had the fence installation company, it was always like, how do we get more leads? Over and over again. But then when I look at this stuff, especially back when we had owned that company and during COVID and stuff like that, if you're getting 40 to 60 calls a day, chances are you don't need any more leads. You need to do a better job with those leads. So I never looked at that stuff. I just was like, let's get more leads. And I think that's what most contractors do, and most business owners in general, because number one, we are too busy to begin with. We're just busy all day doing stuff, right? And so we don't have time to think about like, why are we doing what we're doing? How do we improve things like that? So that's number one. And number two is, how do we, like, even if we know we should improve this stuff, we don't even know how to improve it. We don't know what to do, what to track, and things like that. And then I guess the third thing would be that, as I know for myself, I typically just won't consistently do it for long periods of time, right? So I think that's where having either assistance or some kind of help or whatever it happens to be, finding those people that are just really consistent and just take what you want to do and just do it over and over again, so that way you can focus on something else. Because again, I'm focusing on this fence calculator, which I thought it would be like a week-long project, and then which was just dumb, I think, in general, to think that way. But I've been spending more and more time on this, but then all the other stuff's getting done because I'm able to just start delegating it to different people. Or what's been nice as far as in the front counter area at H&J is like, Bruce is literally just running with the whole thing. As far as they already picked the paint colors, we picked all that stuff out. They took all the displays down. Next, they're gonna start dealing with the walls and all that kind of stuff. So I don't even know, honestly, what the thing's gonna look like. Cruz was telling me today, and I'm like, dude, I can't even like visualize it because like all this different stuff. So I know like on the these two walls, like there's a few different things happening, but as far as the other walls, he's trying to tell me, I'm like, dude, I can't even comprehend it because my brain just doesn't work like that. But whatever. I am really fortunate to have someone like him where like he just runs with it. So even with today, we're down a few people, but like it's winter time, so it's no big deal, honestly. So we got that. And trying to think what else. Oh, so yeah, this content. So we're gonna be doing this challenge pretty soon. So we're getting the messaging and everything else put together. And so what I originally thought might be longer challenge, like 14 or 28 days, I think we're actually going to narrow it down to like 5 or 7. And the reason for that is, number one, for this challenge, the goal is for you guys to produce videos or shoot videos that then turn into customers. And so it's actually not a very difficult concept or hard to do or anything like that. So turning this thing into like, you know, a super long period of time, I don't think is really needed. So I think that's why we're going down to more of the 5 or the 7 day. And it's basically just going to build on top of each other, like, you know, day after day. And then the goal is by the end of it being able to shoot, you know, videos that are, now the thing with this is we don't need videos that are super high quality and like a ton of video editing and stuff, and I don't want you to even really honestly try to figure that shit out. There's gonna be a little bit of editing involved, but like the software that we show you is very simple to use. But for the most part, it's just taking these simple concepts, doing a quick video, and even though it's not quote unquote perfect, that it's still going to attract the customers that you want, so that way you get more leads, and then you're able to book more jobs. And the benefit is, number one, more leads and more jobs, but more importantly as well is not having to constantly compete on price. So when you combine those three things of, you know, getting more leads and not having to compete on price, and so you're able to start booking jobs at a higher profit, it's gonna just accelerate everything for you. So I'm excited about that. We'll see how it goes. And like I told them, it's not gonna be the only time that we run this thing. We're gonna run it several times. It might end up turning into like a mini course or something like that. So that way, you know, you can easily just get access to it. And then from there, you can just watch the videos, just produce it, you know, shoot your own stuff real quick, post it, and then be done with it. So at this point, because it is a shorter challenge, this one's probably going to be more based on just getting the actual, like, shooting the videos and posting them with a little bit of editing with some of the later videos. And then we'll probably end up running other challenges that are more on how to do more in-depth editing, how to do run ads and things like that. So I'm pretty excited. We'll see how that ends up turning out. The other thing, I'm trying to think what else, because I got like 10 more minutes. So the other thing is, so for this fence convention coming up, so again, if you haven't heard about it yet, there's the fence convention. It's at the end of January. It's like the 24th and 25th, I believe. And so that is held down in Atlantic City, and basically the first day is you can go down and there's all classes and stuff like that you can take. That was the one where I really wanted to be involved in. I just had asked to sign it. I had asked to get involved too late. So I'm kind of bummed out about that, but I'm trying to figure something out for that. And then the second day is, oh, and also the first day at the end, I think it's at night sometime, I forget the hours. But they actually have like open bar and like there's just kind of like a party or whatever. So pretty excited about that. Tell me I'm not supposed to be here until 1 o'clock. Anyway, so there's that. And then the second day is where you can actually go around to the different the booths and things like that. And that's where we will be. And that's where I was telling Cruz, I realized over the weekend, there was just one thing we made. Dude, I wanted this big. And then when they made it, I was like, I really wish it was bigger. It's not where I'm like, it's not big enough. And they're like, it's not big enough. I'm like, no, it's not big enough. And then I was thinking over the weekend, I'm like, shit, it's actually too big. So I'm trying to figure out a work around that. So it's not too big as in like, I just can't get it down to the convention, but it's how it's being used that it's too big. And again, I don't want to get into like what it actually is, but it's just something we're working on. So that's where we're at. I think that's really about it for now. As far as, for the week, I guess, for the things that I am trying to get accomplished. So number one, I would love, we'll see what happens with the fence calculator if it actually gets done this week. But at this point, I've been running through a lot of scenarios and like the logic of the program, where it's pretty damn good. There was actually a few times where it ran everything and it figured out everything based on a picture. Like, it was pretty damn cool. So anything that's nice that I'm able to look at this stuff is because with the other programs, we're able to take kind of like that logic in the results and everything else and apply it to this. So it's been helpful in that aspect. So we'll see what happens. I guess that's it for now. Oh, and stupidly, more than likely, not the best choice of my life, not the worst either, is we have a dog coming. So we have 2 dogs at home. So one is an Affin Pinscher and he's like 5 years old. When I tell people we have an Affin Pinscher, no one knows what it is. It's basically the dogs in Affin Pinscher actually means, I don't know if it's the Pinscher part, I think it's just Affin. Maybe it's Affin Pinscher, the whole thing, I don't really know. But it means like monkey face or monkey dog or something like that. Looks like that. And so anyway, we have one of them, and then the other one is a Lassipoo that we actually got from someone. And because they were going to get rid of it, they were actually going to put it on Craigslist for free. And I'm like, no, let's just take it, because whenever you put a dog on, typically if you put a dog for free on Craigslist, there's people that'll just go out there and get it and take it for bait for a pit bull. So I forget why the other people didn't want it, but that's what we ended up with. But anyway, she's like 12 years old at this point, and she's getting up in age, and the big fear is like she's this big companion animal for my wife, and basically, and then also for the other dog as well. Honestly, I feel like when the time comes and like she passes away, the Lassipoo, the other dogs can be like devastated. So now we have this other dog coming after Christmas, because we go away the day after Christmas, and then we come back on like, I don't even know, January something. And so sometime after we get back, we're gonna have the other dog. And the reason for it is, like, again, she was getting up in age, and then like she just was starting to look like really frail and things like that. But then we found out afterwards that she had a urinary tract infection, so I think that was getting her to walk in a different way than normal. And then the other thing is, like, this dog is so damn lazy and doesn't do anything, and like we bring her to work and stuff like that, and so you just see her all day literally doing nothing, and she's just getting old looking, right? But the one thing, and I told my wife this afterwards, and I was telling Ashley, is that she doesn't do shit all day. But I'm telling you, for breakfast, this dog legit like sprints through the house. And for a while, my wife was actually, because she gets up a lot earlier than I do at this point, so she's been taking that dog down. Her name's Maddie. So she's been taking Maddie down, so I haven't been seeing her. And so, like, combine that with, like, you know, just seeing her all the time, not moving, and all this other kind of stuff. And so that's where I suggest, I'm like, it might be time to get another dog just to be on the safe side, because, like, I've always heard that you want to do kind of like a transition, get one a few months before the other one goes, or even longer than that. So that way it's not like a huge shock to the family and blah, blah, blah. So originally I did want to adopt. That's what I personally, prefer. But my wife is allergic to different breeds, so we wanted to be sure of like what we were actually getting, number one. And so with this one at least, so I forget where we found, like what website. It's like not puppyfind.com, but something similar to something else. And so anyway, this one's actually 6 months old, and it's from Indiana. I want to say Indiana or something. So I'm wondering if it came from a puppy mill. I'm hoping not, but actually we had a dog before that was definitely from a puppy mill. And even though I would like to adopt, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's really like saving an animal, kind of like adoption, but like at this point the dog is 6 months old, so it's like 27 weeks. So typically someone that's looking for a puppy is not looking for a 27-week-old quote-unquote puppy. They're looking for that much younger, so sort of saving, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So anyway, that's what I got for today, unless I think of something else on the way back. But I'm hoping, but not hoping they find something, but hoping they don't find something, kind of deal with this whole thing. But I'm just tired of feeling like this and issues. Oh, on the bright side though. So I was actually able to go shoot around a little bit with my son doing basketball. And it's legit been like 20 years, maybe even longer, for playing any sort of basketball whatsoever. Now my knee's still jacked up, so I wasn't trying to run or anything like that, but I was able to rebound a little bit. We weren't playing one-on-one because I didn't want to mess up my knee. And then, so we just did like around the world and things like that. But I wasn't, like, for the first, 20 minutes, half hour, it must have taken like freaking I don't even know. It must have taken legit 30 shots in order to make a free throw, which is pathetic. And most of the time, honestly, I was just coming up short. I don't know if I'm just weak or what it is. I did realize towards the end, when I started, especially when we were playing around the world, I started realizing that it was almost like I was aiming at the front of the rim. And then once I started aiming to the back of the rim, then I was actually making the stuff. But anyway, I keep on saying that's all I got, but I feel like that's all I got, and I'm 2 minutes away. So I'm going to head out at this point. Hey guys, Joe here. So it's still Wednesday the 9th. So I'm on my way to pick up my son from basketball practice, and honestly, I'm exhausted. So I just had to finish. I have to. But I finished hooking up my wife's new espresso machine, and because that was her new obsession, because we went on a cruise, and then she's drinking lattes, and she's like, I want lattes, and then she starts at Starbucks, and then I think it was like $4, and then went to $6, and then she's like, we should really get this. So it's like one of those deals. I don't personally care, but it's like I didn't feel like setting it up, but I'm sure I'll use the machine plenty. Anyway, So at this point, it's the 9th. We only have a few weeks left until the new year, and kind of like that, new year, new you kind of deal. Like, what are your plans, right? And so for myself, I really need to actually spend a few days and actually go over this again, because I just feel like that if we don't plan, there's that saying, like, if you fail to plan, you like that kind of deal. But like, if we just don't know where we're going or what we're trying to accomplish, then we just kind of do a bunch of random shit, or more likely. And even for myself, even if I have plans, I still do a bunch of random shit. So, and I think the only thing that's really helped with that is continuing or trying to start getting the experts in like different areas, so that way it's like, hey, I want to do this, and it's like you have different groups of people that are helping get that stuff accomplished. So there's that. What I will say, if this is something you're looking into, I would highly suggest, if you're just starting a business, or you're just like, you're kind of like flopping around, you're having trouble finding the right people, like just a lot of different issues. What really helped, and I've talked about this book numerous times, and I've also talked about how I haven't even implemented everything at this point, or even like a fraction of it, to be honest with you, is the book Traction by Gino Wickman. It covers the Entrepreneur Operating System, or EOS, and as it states, it's basically just a system. So this is not to contractors whatsoever, it's just business owners, businesses in general. This is not the end all be all by any means. Like, there's different systems out there, there's different things that people use. This is just one of them, and there's many companies like it. And so some of the things that are in the book, and it's really helpful in my opinion, is number one is setting like a 10 or 20 year target. So like, what are you ultimately trying to accomplish in the next like 10 and 20 years? And honestly, the first time when I read the book and I had to go through this, it was honestly really hard to even think about, because I've never planned anything. And then to try to even think about 10 years is just crazy to me, right? And so what you do is you basically plan, or you figure out kind of like what you're attempting to, make happen, what your goals are, whatever it may be, right? And then after that, what you do is you would do a 3-year plan. And basically, so like, what needs to happen in 3 years in order for you to hit like your 10-year, right? And then once you do that, then you're going to do a 1 year. And then so what needs to happen in 1 year in order to hit the 3 year, so you can hit the 10-year, right? And then another step back to that is looking at what do you need to do in the next quarter in order to make the year, on your way to getting the year accomplished, right? And so that's basically it in a nutshell. So it helps. Now, again, I don't implement everything. I'm just telling you things that I've personally, read. I'm like, this makes sense. And like, I know of other people that actually do it. And so like, if you do it too, more than likely it'll help. And like I said, for me, just looking at it and doing a fraction of this stuff, it really has helped my business. So that's step number one, right? Is going through that. Now, step number two, and it's not in exact order, read the book, is going through the core values. Now, honestly, this is the biggest one by far. I love it. And so basically the core values are, what are the character traits of the people in the company? Like, what do they need to have in order for the company to be successful, right? And now these core values, I know for myself and my company, they have changed over time. Because what was needed when I first set up these core values like 2 years ago versus today are two different things, right? Because what I needed from every single person in the company 2 years ago versus now, it's not the same. Like, what I needed everyone to be able to do 2 years ago a lot of things really only pertain to the upper, I'm going to just call it the upper management, but the higher up people, for myself and crews and things like that, right? And so it can be anything. For mine, a few of them are speed is king. Basically, you had to be fast, integrity, that kind of thing. And for yours, it could be honestly, it could be anything, right? But it's just, what are these people able, what do everyone have to have in order for your company to be successful? And if they don't have these things, it's just not going to work out, right? And so, the ones were teamwork and things like that. Consistency, that was another one. And the other one, some of the bigger ones, well, consistency, honestly, that was high up, positive attitude. And then the other one was ownership mentality. Now, ownership mentality has since not for everyone, because at this stage of the game, I don't need the people that are doing the panels to have more of that ownership mentality. And when I used to talk about ownership mentality, it was about looking at your job and always thinking, how can I do this better? Is where the material is that where it should be, and things like that. And 2 years ago, it was really important that everyone was really looking at that, all right? But now, not that we're not trying to continually improve, but for the most part, it's 80 to 90% dialed in. So it's I don't really need that from just someone to come in and build panels. I do need that from someone that's going to be a manager or a general manager or something like that, right? And so anyway, I would go through, if anything, I would go through that book. It was the biggest thing. And again, you don't have to implement everything. Again, if you just look at the 10, the 3, the 1, and then the quarterlies, and then you put the core values in there, you do that, honestly, that was the biggest thing. And that's all it really takes. Because a lot of the time, and one of the keys that, and it says it in the book, and I've read it on either Reddit or watched through videos and stuff like that, is that one of the big things is, especially when it comes to the quarterly goals, is, or they call them quarterly rocks, what are the things that need to be done? And number one is have as little as you possibly can, right? Because if there's 10 different things, and they might be big tasks that need to be done. In my case, it could be the new software being up and running, the new fence calculator up and running, the another location, another this, and this, right? And so when there's so many things, you really can't put any effort onto any one project, and you're trying to get everything done, and what ends up happening is nothing gets accomplished, right? And so now it's typically we're doing 3 things, and we kind of started adopting this into the with my assistants for, sorry, I was just looking at the lights, for Mike and Kaya, is what are the things that need to be done each week, right? What are we trying to accomplish? And I think it does make a difference. And I know for myself, even when I have this stuff in place and it's I still am not satisfied, right, with what's getting done, even though if you basically apply this to the 1% principle, so I've talked about this again. So this is part of Atomic Habits. And so this is 1% better every day. So if you just got 1% better every single day for a year, or your company or your sales, or whatever it may be, when you compound that over an entire year, what happens is it's not you are 365% better, right? It's not you're 3.5 times better. It actually turns into 37 times better than you were at the beginning, right? And because it just compounds over and over and over again. So I'm saying in this video, but it is something I completely struggle with, is just being satisfied with the progress being made. Hold on one second. Yeah, I'm 2 minutes away. So anyway, I'm picking up my son. And, but also have that issue, but technically I issue, but is it really? Because there's people like Gary Vee and stuff like that, and there's other people that have said it as well, where you have this They call it macro patience, and then micro, it's not obsession. I forget what the word is, but more or less like patient versus impatient. So on a grand scheme of things, you know, for me, and I was just thinking about this yesterday with the fence calculator. I was calculations, and I was running, like I was planning out what this thing would do, and I was like, originally I'm like, all right, I just want, right? And then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, if I'm dedicating like the next 20 years of my life to this fence company or this fence supply company in this industry, like what would I want to see, right? Because if I just consistently worked on this, and I'm not saying like worked on it as in like right now I'm working on it physically, but it's not me physically working on it all the time for an entire year, for hours and hours a day, which I don't think it'll ever come to that, but even if it does, if I can come up with a product that was exactly what I wanted, that could help out this industry more than anything else out there, why wouldn't I do it? Right? Because I have 20 years. Like, what the hell? Just like, let's get it done, right? But it's also being patient and realizing I have 20 years to get this shit done, but also being like obsessive in the short term and be like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why is this being done? How can we be better? And like, I actually just did it to my son's coach. So that's something I'll talk about afterwards, because I didn't even tell my son at this point. But it was basically like me being crazy, and I look at, like, they played literally one game, and I'm like, there was all these kinds of issues. I don't really want to get into it because I'm literally blowing up. But like, I was immediately like, all right, let's do, like, what do you think if we do this, this, and this, and then whatever. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys and have a great day. See you mañana.